He divorced me while I was pregnant with his twins. 9 months later, the hospital called him. Only your blood can save her, and your 2 sons. Sounds ironic, doesn't it? The man who once said I was holding him back is now the only one keeping me alive. I still remember the day he signed the divorce papers, quick, final, no hesitation. He said, "I need freedom. I need a future." All I ever needed was a family. In the months that followed, I lived quietly. My belly grew, and so did my fear. No one knew. No one stayed. Only 2 tiny lives kicking inside me, reminding me to keep breathing. And then, that day came. My body collapsed, blood spreading across the floor. By the time he got the call, I was already on the edge between life and death. If you've ever lost someone you love because you thought you still had more time, listen to this story. It might make you think twice. The new apartment was small, too quiet. The sound of the refrigerator filled the room like a heartbeat that didn't know who it belonged to. Boxes stood unopened. The walls were bare, white, waiting. Alara placed the last of her things on the counter. A cracked mug, a folded blanket, a photo frame face down. She couldn't bear to see their smiles frozen in happier years. She walked through each room and spoke softly, as if the air could hear her. "This is home now," she said. But the words felt foreign, heavy. She stood by the window and watched the streetlights blur through the rain. Each drop seemed to echo her pulse. Slow, uncertain. She promised herself she would learn how to live again, how to breathe without him. The promise trembled on her lips, like her hands, like her heart. A vow made in an empty room where only the refrigerator kept her company. Outside, the rain fell harder. Inside, Alara whispered to no one, "One day, this won't hurt." Nights were the hardest. She left the television on for company. The glow, the noise, the illusion of another life. Laughter from the apartment next door slipped through the thin walls, sharp as glass. She ate less, slept less. Food lost its taste. Mornings blurred into evenings. The world moved on, and she stayed still. Alara sat at the kitchen table long after midnight. The clock ticked. The refrigerator hummed. Every sound felt louder now, crueler, as if the silence wanted to remind her she was alone. She tried to fill the space with music, but even the radio hosts sounded distant. Too cheerful, too alive. She turned it off. Her reflection in the window startled her. Pale, hollow-eyed, unfamiliar. For the first time she whispered, "Who am I without him?" The question lingered in the dark, unanswered. And the silence answered for her. Nothing but the hum of a house that did not yet feel like home. The nausea came quietly. At first she blamed it on exhaustion, on grief that ate from the inside out. She skipped breakfast, then lunch. Her clothes grew loose, her skin pale. When she looked in the mirror, she barely recognized the woman staring back. One afternoon, she bent over the sink, dizzy. A cold sweat ran down her neck. She pressed a trembling hand to her stomach, just to steady herself, but then she felt it. A faint pull, deep inside, not pain but something softer, something alive. Her breath caught. She sank to the floor, back against the cabinet, eyes wet but not from tears. The silence in the apartment shifted, as if the air itself had changed. For the first time in months, she whispered not to herself, but to something else, "It's okay. I've got you." And the echo that answered was her own heartbeat, stronger than before. She collapsed at the bus stop. The world tilted, the sound of rain fading into white noise. When she opened her eyes, the ceiling was blinding. Machines beeped softly. A nurse adjusted a monitor, voice calm but urgent. "Easy, ma'am. You're safe now." Alara blinked, confused. Dr. Okoye stepped into view, kind eyes beneath the fluorescent light. "Mrs. Monroe," he said gently, "you fainted. You've been under stress." She tried to speak, but her throat was dry. The doctor hesitated, then turned the screen toward her. 2 tiny shapes flickered in black and white, pulsing faintly. "You're pregnant," he said, then paused. "With twins." For a moment, everything inside her stopped. grief, pain, even thought. Then the smallest sound escaped her lips, half laugh, half cry. In that sterile, humming room, life had found her again. Uninvited, unplanned, but undeniably hers. The monitor glowed softly, two faint lights pulsing in rhythm. Alara stared at them. Two small heartbeats, steady, fragile, alive. A sound escaped her, quiet and broken, the sound of disbelief turning into tears. She reached for the screen, fingertips trembling. Her voice cracked. "We're alone. But we'll be okay." Dr. Okoye smiled gently, said something kind, but she barely heard him. The world had narrowed to those flickering beats, two tiny promises that somehow belonged to her. Alara pressed both hands to her stomach as if she could hold them already. For months she had felt empty. Now she felt terrified and whole. The fear didn't vanish, but it softened beneath the weight of something stronger. She whispered again, this time steadier, "We'll be okay." The room was silent except for the twin rhythms, two small lights, two reasons to stay alive. Outside, the city kept moving, unaware that somewhere in a quiet hospital room, hope had found a heartbeat. Alara moved through her days carefully, as if the world could break what she carried. She quit her office job, telling them she needed rest. Work from home, small tasks, small pay. It was enough. The apartment changed slowly. Baby clothes folded in drawers, a soft blanket draped across the couch. Yet Graham's cufflinks still sat on the dresser, untouched. She avoided mirrors. The curve of her belly grew more visible, a secret she both loved and feared. Every laugh from men passing outside made her flinch, not from anger, but memory. She lived between two lives, one that had ended, one that hadn't begun. When the baby kicked, she smiled through tears. "You're safe," she whispered. "You don't need anyone else." Still, at night, when the lights went out, she could almost hear Graham's voice in the quiet, a ghost made of love and regret. It was spring when she saw him again. She had gone out for air, walking slower now, hiding beneath a loose coat. Across the park, under a blooming oak, stood Graham. He was laughing with friends, relaxed, alive in a way she hadn't seen in years. His smile, the one that used to belong to her, glowed in the sunlight. Alara froze. Her chest tightened. She stepped back behind a parked car, gripping its cold surface to steady herself. She wanted to look away, but she couldn't. He looked lighter, freer, as if divorce had given him back his youth. For him, it was over. For her, it had only begun. A tear rolled down, hot and fast. She turned and walked away before he could notice her. Her reflection in a car window caught her. A woman swollen with life, unseen and forgotten. Behind her, Graham's laughter faded, carried away by the wind. That night, she stood before the mirror, her shirt lifted, her belly round and shining in the low light. She ran her hands over the curve, tracing the outline of her children. "Your father doesn't know," she whispered. Her voice was calm, steady, but her eyes told another story, love and fear locked together. "I'll protect you," she said, "and he'll never hurt us again." The apartment was quiet, only her breathing, soft and uneven. She smiled, but it trembled at the edges. Alara turned off the light and crawled into bed, one hand resting where two small lives grew. For the first time she felt purpose, raw, maternal, defiant. Outside, the city glowed like distant fireflies. Inside, a woman who had been left behind whispered to the future she was building alone. And for a moment, the silence felt like strength. Days blurred into weeks. Her body grew heavier, her steps slower. Every movement hurt now. The doctor warned her. Low blood pressure, anemia, exhaustion. But Alara smiled, nodded, promised to rest, and went home to work again. Bills piled up. The fridge was nearly empty. At night, she lay awake counting the hum of the lights, willing herself to stay strong. One morning, she noticed blood. Just a trace, but enough to freeze her. She sat down on the bathroom floor, trembling. I'm fine, she whispered, though no one was there to hear. She pressed her hands over her belly, praying without words. The twins kicked once, faint but real. She exhaled, tears slipping down her face. Whatever it took, she would keep going. Alara stood slowly, wiping her face. In the mirror, she saw both fear and fire. A woman breaking, but still fighting to live. The night was quiet, too quiet. Alara tried to stand, but her knees buckled. The floor met her before she could breathe. Pain shot through her body, sharp and deep. She reached for her phone on the table, too far. Her fingers brushed the edge and missed. The room spun. She whispered, "No, please, not yet." Her vision blurred, colors fading into gray. Somewhere in the distance, a dog began barking. Loud, urgent, endless. Neighbors knocked. Voices shouted. She wanted to answer to tell them she was fine, but no sound came out. Her lips trembled, blood pooling beneath her palms. "I'm sorry, babies." The words came out broken, carried on the last bit of strength she had left. Then the world tilted, the sound of sirens growing closer, lights flashing behind her eyelids. She felt herself drifting, not falling, not flying, just letting go. 2 faint heartbeats still echoed somewhere inside her, fighting against the dark. Then everything went still. "Move! She's crashing!" The hospital was chaos. Footsteps, commands, the metallic smell of blood. Alara lay pale beneath the lights, tubes and wires snaking around her. Dr. Okoye shouted orders. "We're losing her! Get the suction ready! Now!" A nurse checked the monitor. "BP dropping, 60/30. Find blood, AB negative," Okoye yelled. They worked fast. Too much blood lost, too soon. The twins arrived silent, small, too early. Nurses rushed them to the warming tables. A weak cry filled the room. Then another. 2 tiny sounds against the noise of machines. Life demanding to be heard. Okoye's gloves were red to the wrists. She fought to keep Alara's heart beating, voice calm but desperate. "She's not done fighting," she said through clenched teeth. Monitors beeped unevenly, screens flashing warnings. The nurses moved like lightning. Still, there wasn't enough blood, and time was running out. "Doctor, blood levels are critical." Okoye didn't look up. "Where's the transfusion?" "None available. AB negative stock's empty. Region's been drained after the accident last night." Her jaw tightened. "Check national." "It'll take hours." She paused, then, quieter. "She doesn't have hours." Nurse Pilar flipped through the intake forms. Blank. No family, no emergency contacts. Just an old system record, faded, almost erased. Wait. Her eyes widened. "There's one name here." "Who?" "Graham Whitlock." Okoye frowned. "The ex-husband?" "Yes. Old contact, probably from years ago." Pilar hesitated. Protocol said no contact. Divorce meant distance. But this wasn't protocol anymore. "She's dying," Okoye said firmly. "Call him." The nurse nodded, heart pounding. She dialed the number, hands shaking. 1 ring, 2, no answer. She whispered a prayer and tried again, because sometimes the past was the only lifeline left. Across town, Graham Whitlock sat in a luxury restaurant, glass of wine in hand. Laughter filled the air. Soft jazz, polished silver. His phone buzzed once. Unknown number. He ignored it. Another buzz. He frowned, silenced it. Michael, his business partner, smiled. "Spam calls. They never quit." Graham forced a grin. "Yeah." The third call came. Relentless. He sighed and picked it up. "Hello? Mr. Whitlock?" A woman's voice, urgent but steady. "This is Nurse Pilar from City General Hospital." He frowned. "Hospital? It's your ex-wife. She's in critical condition. Postpartum complications. We need AB negative blood. You're the only match we found." The noise around him vanished. "What?" "She's dying, sir. Only your blood can save her, please. We need you now." His chest tightened. The restaurant blurred. He heard his own heartbeat louder than the music. "I'm coming," he said. standing so fast his chair fell back. "Tell them to hold on." He ran into the rain. The city lights streaked against the windshield. Rain poured harder, each drop like a heartbeat in his ears. Graham gripped the wheel, knuckles white. He sped through red lights, tires cutting through puddles. Her voice echoed in his head. "I hope you find what you're looking for." He had, and it was empty. Every memory came back. The courtroom, her shaking hands, the moment he'd looked away. He'd thought freedom meant peace. Now it tasted like guilt. He whispered, "God, don't let her die." The wipers thrashed, clearing the glass, but not the image of her face. Tired, trembling, signing away their life together. He had walked out. She had stayed, and she'd been carrying his children. Lightning split the sky ahead, white and merciless. He didn't slow down. Couldn't. The hospital lights appeared through the storm. Red, blinking, alive. He pressed harder on the gas. He was almost too late. The nurse tied the band around his arm. Graham barely felt the sting of the needle. He watched the red stream fill the tube, steady, warm, alive. His blood, flowing to the woman he left. The woman fighting for her life because of him. He whispered, "My blood," back to her. The room smelled like antiseptic and metal. The monitor beeped softly in the corner, counting seconds he could no longer waste. Every drop that left him carried regret. The words he never said, the nights he chose silence. Now, this was all he had left to give. The nurse checked the line. "Doing great, Mr. Whitlock." He nodded, jaw tight. He closed his eyes. He saw her face that last day, trembling hands, broken voice. He'd told himself he was doing the right thing. Now she was dying, and the only thing keeping her alive was him. He looked at the bag filling with blood and thought, maybe redemption doesn't come in words. Maybe it comes in what you're willing to give back. Alara floated in darkness. A heartbeat somewhere near her. Faint, fading, but still there. She saw flashes. The courtroom, the rain, his cold face. Then something else. Warmth. A pulse running through her veins. Her blood mixing with his. Graham sat in another room, pale from loss, his blood bag carried away by trembling hands. They were connected again, unseen. A lifeline of red running between two broken people. Her body fought to stay. Monitors screamed, then steadied. The doctors worked fast, sweat on their brows, their voices low but hopeful. Outside the room, he whispered a prayer he didn't believe in. Inside, her heart caught the rhythm of his. 2 lives on the same edge, one giving, one receiving. Neither knowing the other was still holding on, and in that moment between life and death, their hearts beat as one again. A silence filled the delivery room. Too long, too deep. Then, a sound, a weak cry. Then another. Nurse Pilar gasped, "We got one! Wait, both, breathing." The team exhaled as if the entire hospital had been holding its breath. 2 tiny lives, fragile but fierce, breaking through the silence. Their cries were soft, but they echoed through the hall. One nurse smiled through tears. Fighters, both of them. Their mother lay still. Machines kept her rhythm steady. Her babies had arrived, premature but alive. Across the hall, Graham pressed his hand to the wall, unaware. He felt something shift. A weight he didn't understand lifting, if only for a second. The twins' voices rose again, small but certain. The sound of life reclaiming space from death. They were here, and everything had changed. Graham sat outside the room, his shirt soaked through with rain and blood. His hands trembled. His pulse wouldn't slow. He stared at the closed door, waiting for someone to come out. The clock ticked louder than his thoughts. Pilar stepped out, her face unreadable. He stood. "Please, tell me." "She's alive," the nurse said quietly. Then, after a pause, "Barely." His knees nearly gave out. He sank into the chair again, breath shaking. "She's stable for now. The transfusion worked, but it's going to be a long night." He nodded, unable to speak. Rain hit the window beside him, steady and cold. He thought about all the nights he'd slept peacefully while she suffered alone. And now, here he was, waiting outside her door, praying she'd survive just one more hour. For the first time in years, Graham Whitlock was powerless, and he deserved every second of it. "Would you like to see them?" a nurse asked softly. Graham hesitated, then nodded. She led him into a quiet room filled with machines and light. Rows of incubators lined the walls, each holding a small, fragile miracle. She stopped at 2, side by side, tiny forms beneath clear plastic. Tubes, wires, the steady beep of life. He stepped closer. Their skin was pink and thin, their fingers no larger than seeds. He reached through the small opening. One of them moved, barely, and curled his hand around Graham's finger. The grip was weak, but it was real. A connection stronger than blood, stronger than regret. Tears fell before he could stop them. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I'm your father." The baby's tiny hand stayed wrapped around his, as if forgiving him before the world even began. The room was dim except for the quiet pulse of monitors. Alara lay motionless, her breathing shallow but steady. Graham sat beside her bed, elbows on his knees, hands clasped tight. He hadn't moved in hours. The world outside the hospital didn't exist anymore. He watched the rhythm on the monitor, the fragile reminder that she was still here. Every beep was a heartbeat he'd almost lost. He reached out, brushing a strand of hair from her forehead. Her skin was cold, her face pale. He whispered, "Don't leave me again." Then, softer, like a confession, "Please, don't make this the price I pay." Fatigue finally claimed him. He rested his head on the edge of her bed, his hand still covering hers. For the first time in years, he slept. Not in comfort, but in surrender. The kind of sleep that comes after realizing how much you've broken. Beside him, her fingers twitched. The smallest motion, almost unseen. Their hands stayed touching, both caught between what was gone and what might still be saved. The sun climbed through the hospital blinds, soft gold spilling across the sheets. For a second, the world looked gentle again. Alara's chest rose and fell. Slower, stronger. She was still fighting. Graham woke with a start, disoriented, then remembered where he was. He straightened, blinking at the light. The morning made everything real. He'd spent years chasing meetings, mergers, and profits. Now, none of it mattered. He pulled out his phone. Dozens of messages. Investors, deadlines, deals. He stared at them, then deleted everything. He sent one final text to his assistant. "I'm stepping away, indefinitely." When asked why, he simply typed, "Family." He looked back at Alara. She hadn't moved, but her color was better. The light touched her face, and for the first time since that courtroom, she didn't look broken. He sat down again, whispering to himself, "This time, I choose right." A soft sound broke the silence. A faint inhale, a stir. Graham lifted his head. Alara's eyes fluttered open, confused, glassy. She blinked, scanning the room, then froze when she saw him. "Why are you here?" Her voice cracked from dryness and disbelief. He swallowed hard. "Because I was wrong." Her gaze hardened, tears welling before she could stop them. She turned her head away, staring at the wall instead of him. "You shouldn't be here," she whispered. "Maybe not," he said, "but I couldn't stay away." The silence stretched, thick with years of things unsaid. Machines hummed softly, marking the space between them. Finally, she whispered, "Are they the babies?" "They're alive," he said. "Both. Fighters." She exhaled shakily, tears slipping free. For a moment, she almost forgot her anger. Almost. Her voice trembled, not from weakness, from rage held too long. "You left me, Graham. You broke me." He didn't move, didn't defend himself. She continued, louder now, the pain spilling out like floodwater. "I begged you to see me, to listen, and you walked away like I was nothing." Her chest heaved with the effort of speaking. "I carried your children alone. I almost died alone." His eyes filled with tears. "I know," he he said quietly, "and I'll never forgive myself for that." She turned her face away, unable to look at him. The heart monitor beeped steadily beside them. Calm, indifferent. "You can't fix this," she whispered. "I'm not trying to fix it," he said. "I just need you to know I see what I did, and it kills me." For the first time, he let the tears fall. No pride, no excuses, just regret. And that, more than his words, made her chest ache. The room grew quieter, like even the machines knew this moment mattered. Graham took a deep breath. "I'll stay," he said. "For them. For you. Even if you never forgive me." Alara didn't look at him. She stared at the window instead, gray clouds drifting past. "You don't have to," she murmured. "I know," he replied. "That's why I want to." He reached for her hand but stopped halfway, letting it hover in the air. "I can't erase what I did, but I can show you who I'll be now." Her lips trembled. Tears spilled silently down her cheeks. She turned her face away, the sound of her breathing uneven. "I don't know if I can believe you," she whispered. "You don't have to. Just let me prove it." He sat there, still, patient. The man who'd once left learning at last how to stay. Days later, the room felt lighter. Alara sat upright now, color slowly returning to her cheeks. The babies lay in their incubators, tiny but breathing on their own. Graham stood beside her, silent, afraid to break the fragile calm. Alara looked at the twins through the glass and smiled faintly. "I want to name them," she said. He nodded. "You should." She pointed to the first, the smaller one. "Bill." Then the other. "Balmer." She turned to him. "They're survivors. That's who they are." Her voice trembled, soft but sure. "Every breath they take is proof that we're still here." Graham swallowed the ache in his throat. He hadn't earned the right to speak, but he did anyway. "They're perfect," he whispered. For the first time she met his eyes. Not with forgiveness, not yet, but without anger. A fragile peace hovered between them. Quiet, cautious, real. He smiled, the first in a long time. And in that moment, it felt like something broken had started to mend. The afternoon was still. Graham sat beside her bed, the sound of monitors steady like breathing. He reached for her hand, hesitant at first, then firmer. Her skin was warm now, alive, present. He placed her hand against his chest. "Your blood is in me," he said quietly. "Mine's in you." She blinked, surprised. He met her eyes, steady this time. "We're not broken, Alara. We're just changed." She didn't answer. Her hand stayed where he held it, feeling the rhythm under his ribs. A rhythm she'd almost lost. He exhaled. "I can't undo what happened, but I'll spend the rest of my life giving back what I took." Her eyes softened, only slightly. She looked away, but didn't pull her hand back. The air between them felt different now. Not forgiveness, but something close. The beginning of a bridge neither of them thought could exist again. Evening settled over the room, painting the walls in gold. Alara turned her head toward Graham, her voice barely above a whisper. "I don't forgive you," she said. He nodded once. "I know." "Not yet." The words hung between them, tender and sharp all at once. He didn't move, didn't speak. He just waited. Then she did something small, almost invisible. She left her hand where it was, resting on his. The gesture was quiet, but it said everything. He lowered his head, eyes burning. "Thank you," he whispered. Outside, a nurse wheeled the twins past the door. Their tiny cries drifted through the hall like a lullaby. Alara closed her eyes, exhaustion and peace blending together. For the first time, her breathing matched his. Steady, calm, alive. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was hope. Morning came softly. Light spilled through the blinds, warm and slow. The twins stirred in their bassinets, small fingers curling in the air. Monitors hummed with gentle rhythm. Steady, certain. Alara opened her eyes to the sound. Graham sat nearby, watching the babies, a faint smile hidden beneath the fatigue. "They're stronger today," he said. She nodded. "So am I." The nurse entered quietly, adjusting wires, whispering, "They're going to make it." The words sank deep, heavier than any promise. Alara looked at Graham. For once, there was no anger, no silence, just breath shared between survivors. Outside, the rain that had followed them for days had stopped. Sunlight washed over everything. New, forgiving. 3 heartbeats, 1 chance. Still here. The camera of memory fades to stillness. A quiet room. Sunlight soft on white sheets. Alara sat upright, holding her sons. Bill slept peacefully against her chest. Balmer's tiny hand clung to her gown. Graham stood behind her, distant but present, his shadow reaching toward the light. Some love stories don't end. They transform. Forgiveness isn't forgetting. It's choosing to keep living. Lara looked down at the twins, her voice a whisper meant for them alone. Everything we lost gave us you. Outside, the world moved again. Cars, laughter, wind through the trees. Life continued, quieter, stronger. If you've ever loved and lost, if you've ever found a way to keep going, this story was yours too. And if it touched your heart, stay with us. Because every week, we share stories of love that survived the impossible.